Hello Aries, welcome to your July forecast for the year of 2017. I am Kiana Mayfield from LibraLunaCenter.com, and for you, this month is all about listening to the muse within, right? We start off the month with Chiron in Pisces, stationing retrograde, 28 degrees in your 12th house. And this has to do with your connection to the God force within, right? I feel for you, Aries, that there has been fears seeping in to your consciousness from sources that are not necessarily yours, right? This is the battle with your own demons, right, Aries? The battle between the will and the collective transpersonal inertia we take on as human beings in our incarnational karma, right? For you, I feel this is the harnessing of your karma, the transmutation of your karma into dharma, right? And what this means is as you strengthen and develop a relationship between yourself and your higher self, right? The bridge, you form the bridge, the connection, the mental connection between your conscious everyday awareness and the awareness that exists within you, right? The awareness that looks through you, sees through your eyes from an eagle eye perspective, if that makes sense, right? The higher aspect of your vision, right? This inner seer within you, this inner watcher, the gatekeeper to your subconscious mind, right? With Chiron stationing retrograde, this is about, for all of us, taking control of our own pain, right? The healing of our own wounds through facing of our pain. And your pain is with yourself, right? Your pain is with your connection to your greatest self. And this is a theme that will play out for the rest of 2017, right? As Chiron is in Pisces, this is you facing your pain by facing your demons, by facing what keeps you where you are, Aries. What makes you a drop in the ocean versus the ocean itself? Because I feel that Aries has been feeling, as of late, very isolated, right? And what makes an Aries feel isolated is when their energy is not contributing and is not connected to the collective, right? And even though Aries is the most personal sign of the zodiac, it is the first sign of the zodiac, right? It is about self. It is about the recognition of self, the development of self. Ultimately, the development of self is geared towards becoming a vessel for the infinite self. And where your inhibitions lie, where your subconscious fears are in regards to the disconnect between yourself and your higher self, the misalignment between your will and thy will, right? And so from July 4th through the 5th, we have Venus entering Gemini, which is in your 3rd house, which will be opening your mind, right? Which will be opening the field of your environment to be able to express yourself. As the very next day, July 5th, we have Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, entering Leo, which is for you in your 5th house of creative self-expression and your heart and your love, right? As this happens, Neptune will be in quincunx to Jupiter for the final time. And this is happening for you in your 12th and 7th house. And so, Aries, authenticity of self is what July is all about for you, right? The proclamation of who you are. And in a sense, this is true for all of us, as there is all this energy preparing to build up in Leo, right? As we have the North Node in Leo, this next cycle culminates in us proclaiming ourselves, right? But for you, this is emphasized in July because Aries, I'm going to be straightforward with you. Many of you have been living a lie, right? Living a lie in the sense that you believe it's you against the world, right? In a sense, all of the cardinal signs are experiencing this degree of energy in different ways, right? But for you, because if you have not been doing the spiritual work, right? If you have not been developing the connection with your higher self, with God, right? Everything is harder for you. And the reason is because Aries, you get your energy, you get your fire, you get your flame, you get your passion, you get what makes you you from your connection to the divine spark, right? Fire derives from spirit. And if you as a being are not in alignment with your origins, and this Cancer season is in reflection of that, right? For you, it's at the bottom, the base of your chart, the 4th house. If you are not in alignment with your origins, Aries, everything is harder for you. I'm getting a sense of suffocation, right? It is through the proclamation of your divine self that you meet yourself. And the opportunities that arouse themselves in July for you as Venus enters your 3rd and Mercury your 5th, this is the chance for you to say and express what you really are in your environment and whatever you're surrounded in, the circumstances you are surrounded in. And this is building up to the full moon in Capricorn, which for you will happen in your 10th house, right? And it's in exact conjunction to Pluto. And this full moon in Capricorn, for everyone, is all about the transmutation and the breaking through fear, right? The final confrontation with fear. As we own our fear, as we integrate the shadow into the light, right? As it boils to the surface, what will we do with what we confront? Are we going to run back into our past habits, run back into the safety and the comfort zone of our wombs, or are we going to take the risk into what is most uncomfortable for us? And for you, this is at the top of your chart, right? This is all about not only how you're seen in the world, Aries, but what you leave behind. Because Aries, I'm feeling a strong sense of restlessness, right? It's easy to say that what would make us happy is to be ourselves, right? Unapologetically. But what does that really mean? What does that really entail? Is the ultimate question. It's the hardest question to ask because you're looking in the face of everything you fear, right? And what you fear, you are the pioneer, Aries. And part of your destiny lies in breaking out of the box, right? Breaking out of the collective womb of Pisces, while simultaneously adding to it, while simultaneously becoming its vessel, becoming its instrument. And to be unapologetically ourselves entails breaking out of everything we've grown up to believe in, we've grown up to look up to, we've grown up to rely on as some sort of stable, authoritative figure in our lives. But this bar that we've set for ourselves, that society has set for us in some way, ultimately represses the spirit within us, right? And it is in owning up to where you have relinquished your own authority, relinquished your own self, in the hopes that you may be looked at in a certain way, so that you may not feel so isolated, right? Aries is the first sign. The first sign is the loneliest sign. And Aries, in the pursuit of being understood, in the pursuit of being understood as an individual, as a self, you relinquish yourself. You surrender yourself. You give up yourself for the sake of being understood. And so this is where masks form, right? You have the South Node in Aquarius in your 11th house. Masks become a collection, right? When we use the mask in our day-to-day reality, it forms itself all around us as a reflection. It's reinforced by everything and everyone. And it's reinforced by our sense of feeling like we are out of control of our own destiny because we have not contributed in a sense that we have become a vessel for the infinite source, for the infinite spirit, for the infinite fire that rests within us, right? And so, Aries, this full moon will really highlight where you have given up your power. And to take it back, this can be in the form, in any form, right? Whether this is relationships, as it is triggering Jupiter in your 7th house, where we either give too much of ourselves away, or else push our agendas onto the other in an act of uncompromising power struggle, right? But for you, I'm feeling this is needing to constructively work itself out through some form of project, through some form of perhaps career shift, shaking up how the world sees you. And so on the 16th of July, we have the last quarter square of the moon in your sign on top of Uranus, which will be at its highest degree, 28 degrees, before Uranus goes retrograde next month, right? And it will be in square to Mars and the Sun in Cancer. And the moon and Mars will be in mutual reception. So for everyone, this will be a breakout period. But for you, this is a deep internal shift in your entire outlook, right? You have Saturn. Forgot to mention this, Saturn. You have Saturn in your 9th house, right? Going retrograde. And the full moon, as Saturn rules Capricorn, the only way to break out of this prison for you, Aries, is to change your beliefs about yourself, about the world, and about ultimately what you can contribute as an individual. How you look at everything is what you will experience. If you look at the world from an angle of hostility, this says more about you than about the world, right? If you look at the world with a sense of heaviness, this says more about you than it does the world, because you are your world, Aries. And if you look at the world from a perception of multiple different possibilities, exponential roads that all lead to home, ultimately, the home of your soul, the home of your higher self. Again, this is what you experience, because this is what you are. And with the last quarter square of the moon, this is transcending everything that you think you are. And this is building up to the new moon in Leo, 0 degrees, conjuncting Mars, your ruling planet, in your 5th house in Leo. For everyone, this is opening a portal before we enter the eclipse season, right? Aries, you need to express yourself. You need to become a contributor of your life again. And this comes by way of connecting to the divine spark within you, to the divine flame, to your higher self, because it's more than just about doing. It's more than just about being you, right? Because you, if you do not know yourself beyond the body, then you do not know yourself. And yourself is not isolated. That's your ego, right? The ego gives us the ability to have a subjective experience on this planet, right? A subjective way of having choices, free will, the free will to look at our world in a certain way, to create our world by our own perception. And if you think that this subjective part of who you are is who you are, then you're not looking at the whole story, right? This is where we meet the battle that you go through your entire life. This is where the battle starts, right? It starts with the war between heaven and earth. the war between the soul and the ego, when in reality, this is not needed, right? Because who you are is inexplicably tied in with everything that is, all that is, with infinity. Your only role on this planet is to become an instrument of the infinite. And when you cut yourself off from the infinite, this is where you lose yourself, Aries. And you are finding yourself again, once again. You are finding your power. And in finding your power, you find your purpose. You find your muse. And it's in having the courage to break out of the molds you have been living in that you find your happiness. That you find what you were put on this planet to do. And so on the 25th, we have Virgo, Mercury entering Virgo in your 6th house, which it will be transiting through because Mercury will go retrograde next month. It will be transiting through this space of your chart, the 6th house, until the end of September. Between the 5th and the 6th house, it will transit back and forth between these two areas. And for you, Aries, it's about purifying oneself by understanding the patterns, by understanding the details, by understanding the elements of reality, right? The elements of ourselves, of our self-development, of our connection to our bodies, right? How we take care of ourselves and our work, while simultaneously responding to the muse. Finally solving the whole notion of being a starving artist. Because the way to thrive in this world is you living in service to everything by being you, by contributing what you were naturally born and gifted to contribute. And that comes by way of knowing your voice. And by not only purifying yourself to be able to make room for this spirit to possess you, right? Because you are being led by spirit to create something, to create, whether that's a project, whether that's a new relationship, whether that's a child, even giving birth. You're giving birth to some new life, Aries. Some new life that ultimately is paving the way for your future, that is paving the way out of this dark cave you have been living in, right? This dark cave that projects the battle you have been living your entire life. The battle, this struggle, right? The struggle is coming to an end because you are no longer fighting yourself, right? You're becoming a warrior for the one. For the one. Not against it. Saturn will be beginning to stop as it is preparing to station direct in August as well. Big month coming up in August. July is the preparation for next month, the eclipse season. And the way you move forward, Aries, you're going to feel stuck in this area until Saturn officially stations direct. But this is the last chance to become right with your beliefs. Become right with your perception. Become right with your muse, your higher self. Because you cannot continue to fight yourself, Aries. It will not work anymore. As by this year's end, Saturn will be at the top of your chart, right? In Capricorn, squaring over to your energy. And if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't recognize that you are all that is, this can either be a sense of even deeper isolation, or it can be you living at your fullest purpose for why you even incarnated on this planet. This is the last year Uranus will be in your sign. You must break out. And by the end of July, we have the first quarter square of the moon again, this time in Scorpio, in your 8th house, squaring over to the Sun and Mars in Leo. And we have Venus entering Cancer at the bottom of your chart. We get into some very explosive energy, Aries, because you're breaking free. You're breaking free because you're pursuing your deepest passion. First quarter square of the moon in Scorpio, for everyone, is about the pursuit of our deepest passion, right? As we have the Sun and Mars in Leo, right? Our heart and the commitment to our heart with Scorpio in the mix. And this is emphasized for you heavily in your relationship to the world, right? And Venus in Cancer. This is the oasis. Returning to your oasis, to your home, right? It'll be squaring over to your energy, but it's tempering what's going on in the universe. It is lightening the load. It is at the end of all of this, right? It is returning you to your origins, because now you are, Aries, by the end of this month, finding your soul again. The integration between your conscious will power, right? Your conscious self, your ego, your identity. That fire is aligned with the higher self, the infinite, all that is connected to the all, to the one, right? The one is not you. The one is not your ego. The one is all that is. And by this month's end, you return. So thank you very much for watching, Aries. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful month of July, returning to yourself, right? The integration between your lower and your higher mind. And I will see you all next month.